What's up, everybody? I'm Terrence, and this is Keep It Social. And I have with me today my co-host, Terrence. What's up, Terrence? How's it going?
I'm well. How are you today, Paris?
I'm doing well, Terrence, and I'm really excited because we have with us today a very special guest, someone who has made big moves both on and off the court as a Boston Celtics center.
Hey, I'm gonna take my mask off so you all can see my face. Let's go! Listen, everybody. My name is Enes Kanter. I play for the Boston Celtics. Let's go! First of all, I want to thank you all for coming here for this pandemic. So I really appreciate it. And the second thing I want to say, man, we need change, and change cannot wait.
Terrence, help me in welcoming Enes Kanter to Keep It Social. Hi, Enes. How are you?
How you guys doing? It's an honor to be in your show. I'm very excited.
We're very excited. Thank you. And we've got a lot to talk about, Enes.
Yep.
As I mentioned, you have been really active both on and off the court and with social justice and activism. And so that has been tricky in many ways. I know it's been a passion of yours, but it hasn't always come easy. And so why don't you just tell us first kind of how you're feeling about this current moment, not only with what's happening in the US, but what's happening in your home country of Turkey?
I mean, it's been tough, when NBA give us the words that what are we gonna put on our bag? I picked the freedom, but a lot of people were thinking that just the issues are here, but like the social justice issues are happening all over the world, not just in America, but Turkey and many other countries. So that was one of the biggest reasons that I picked that word freedom, because to me that word is one of the biggest meaning of life. Because when you say freedom, freedom of religion, of expression, freedom of just free, that word is to me is just meaning of life, because there's so many out there, so many people out there all over the world that needs that word more than anything, like water and bread. So that was one of the biggest things that I picked that word to put on back on my jersey.
That makes sense. And thinking back, when we're having this conversation with you about your home country, right? And then you being here in the United States, where we're going through like an awakening and a liberation of sorts in the US.
Right.
Like I can only imagine what you're feeling knowing that, people are being repressed back home, right? Social media is on lockdown. Like I get mad when other countries have like free college and free healthcare.
Right.
I can't imagine being somewhere else in a moment like this,
I mean, I know what it's like to for freedom and justice. That was one of the biggest reasons that I was actually during this quarantine. I was in Chicago and I drove 20 hours to get to Boston, and I wanted to peacefully protest with my city. We are, I get emotional, but we are on the right side of the history, man. Because I know what is it like to fight for, like I said again, justice, freedom, and human rights and democracy. So I wanted to be with my city and just go out there and just wanted to let the whole Boston know that the Celtics got your back. That was the reason that I wore my actually jersey to the protest. But I am just heartbroken what's happening in America, especially the last almost 2 months. We just need to get back to our basics and say, hey, we have a lot to work on. We need to, before everything, we need to listen and we need to educate ourselves. That's what I mean. But that period of time showed us we have so many great leaders, like like one of them is Jaylen Brown. Just right now, just because we are in actually in quarantine in a hotel, I have lots of conversation with him about what's going on recently, and he's definitely inspiring me so much.
And so, Terrence mentioned the lack of freedom of expression and of press freedom in places like Turkey. And we know that Turkey has banned, over 400,000 websites, including Netflix, on all part of its efforts to control what people are saying and how they're expressing themselves. We know that the Turkish government has come after you, and you're kind of a target for them and some of the things that you've said and then expressed, and even coming after people who have shared your content, who have
Right.
retweeted your stuff on Twitter. And so how does that make you feel to be in this country where you are really celebrated for doing things like joining protesters in Boston, but in your
Right.
home country, you're constantly sought after and targeted for
Exactly.
those things?
We should definitely feel blessed to be in this country for first, because like you said, back in my home country, the Turkey, I mean, first of all, the Turkish government declared me as a terrorist. I actually answered them back and say, only thing I terrorize is the basketball rim. You know, it's crazy because the thing is, like, I want freedom in my country. I want democracy. I want human rights in my country. And just because I want all this stuff, that I'm a bad guy because of they think that I'm going against my country. Anyway, so just because of I'll talk about these issues, they ban my basketball games in Turkey. So whichever team I play for, they censor those games. They don't show those games. Yes, last year I was with Portland Trailblazers. We made the Western Conference Finals. They didn't show it, and everybody was mad at me. I'm like, what did I do? You know. But the other thing is, like, they're banning Twitter, Wikipedia, YouTube, actually, some of like the shows in Netflix or something. But that just shows that pure dictatorship. And it just like, I'm trying to tell this to my teammates. I mean, we actually like sit and talk about all these issues, and they just couldn't believe it, the words I say, because like it's so hard to believe. But once we sit down and have a conversation, at least like 30 minutes, and they're like, okay, how can we help you? And so for them, it's a huge blessing to have their support, because it gives me so much hope, so much strength, and there's so much, the strength to just fight against dictatorship.
I think it's interesting that, they say that they, I agree that, like, when we read about what's happening in Turkey in your home, it makes me definitely feel like, wow, like I often take for granted,
Right.
the opportunity just to go on social media and voice my opinion. And, if there's something that I feel I've been wronged about socially, I can find community on social media. I can find that education on social media, right? And I think for me, that's what I'm getting from what's happening, is limiting education and knowledge, right? Because that's how you really control people, If you limit their knowledge, if you limit their education, you can control as many people as you want to, really.
Exactly. That's why the education is so important, man. And because, like, right now we are fighting for something so the young generations won't have the same problem. And it's so important to listen and educate ourselves. I mean, I actually have this discussion with Jalen Brown. I told him, it's like, listen, man, it doesn't matter what your background is, what your skin color is. It doesn't matter what your religion is. The most important thing in life is leave your differences on the table and trying to find out what we have in common. Until Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or somebody find another planet to live, this world is what we have. So we need to make this world better together. That's the key word, together. So, like, I look at my teammates like my brothers. It doesn't matter what they believe in, or it doesn't matter what their skin color is. We are all one. And we have one goal, just to wake up every day and ask yourself one question: how can we make this world better? How can we inspire younger generation so they will be educated when they come into our age? They won't have the same problems that we are having right now. So it's just amazing. It's just amazing to see the leaders we are just having in NBA and all over the athlete world.
Enes, I want to ask you about some news that's unfolding. President Erdogan recently took out a full-page ad in the Washington Post where he praised himself and demanded the extradition of your cleric 4 years after the coup attempt. And he also came after political opponents, including yourself. And I know this is something that has really struck a chord for you.
Right.
And he in this post, it's also so striking to me that the Post has really allowed him to do this, because this ad is kind of praising himself and demanding extradition of your cleric 4 years after the coup attempt, and so vowing to go after political opponents, including yourself. And so how are you feeling about that? How are you thinking not only about the messages that this is sending, but about the fact that this newspaper has allowed Erdogan to have this platform?
I mean, first of all, he paid for that ad. That's why the people really don't respect him. And the second thing is, I mean, people know that that's fake. It's like the crazy thing is, Turkey is the number one country in the world that put most journalists in a jail. That's their job to write. You like it or you don't like it. When you put a journalist in a jail just because of their writing something against you, doesn't mean they're terrorists, you know? So like in our country, you like the president or you hate the president. You can express yourself on Twitter or on, the TV channels or on newspaper. You won't be in jail. But in Turkey, if you criticize the regime, the Erdogan regime, they making you look like you're against your country, you know? So that's why they put you in jail and say, oh, he's a bad guy, he's against his country and stuff. So like it's just crazy to me because like I said again, over 300 journalists are in the jail right now waiting for help, but you're given a post to be one of the biggest, newspaper in the world, and just to me, when I saw that post, I was heartbroken. I'll be honest, I was heartbroken because like, come on, man, just like you're the biggest newspaper, one of the biggest newspaper in the world, and you're taking a ad from a dictatorship that was put on your literally just your guy, like your people in jail, journalists in the jail. So like to me, it was just very funny, very fake.
Right. And see, Enes, I think from that last part that you said, for me, I think that although we have like those freedoms to express ourselves on social media, a lot of times, like you said about your home country, even here for a lot of people, when you express things that you don't agree with systemically, you still could be labeled, as a terrorist, right? Like when we look at leaders from the Black Lives Matter movement or just really people who have like pushed forward, they are labeled, similarly. I'm not saying it's the same experience, of course, because we haven't had journalists and people locked up to the same extent, at least from what I know. But with that being,
there has, Terrence, I'm sorry, and Terrence, just to your point, there has been a renewed kind of movement against press and journalism in this country. And
yeah. And see, that I think is another step, or kind of like an add-on bonus around our administration and what he's doing or what they're doing, what the president, I feel, is doing to try to wrangle in and control social media, right? It feels eerily like it's tiptoeing on, trying to, again, limit that knowledge and limit those voices. Of course, less severe than what's happening in Turkey, but I feel like he's itching his best way to get there.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and it's something that we'll have to keep our eyes on. And Enes, we're going to keep our eyes on what you're doing. We definitely want to talk to you more about this. So viewers, stick around. We're going to keep the conversation going. Well, that's it for part 1 of our conversation with Enes Kanter. Stay tuned for part 2 in the next episode of Keep It Social. And in the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to all our social channels and let us know what you would like to see on the show. We'll see you next time. And until then, Terrence, tell them what to do.
Keep it social.